Welcome back students to the video lecture series. I am Adil Mansoori from Civil Engineering Department of LG Institute of Engineering and Technology. So my dear students, let us start today's session with the properties of wastewater. Okay, so like the properties of water, we have different properties of wastewater as well. Okay, so let's see the classification of which are the different properties of wastewater. So talking about the properties, it has basically three properties, that is physical, chemical and biological properties. Okay, physical properties include color, odor, temperature, specific gravity and turbidity. Talking about chemical properties, it includes total solids, pH, chlorides, nitrogen contents, fat, grease and oil, sulfides, sulfate and H2S, that is hydrogen sulfide gas, toxic compounds, dissolved oxygen, biochemical oxygen demand, that is BOD, chemical oxygen demand, that is COD, theoretical organic carbon, total organic carbon and theoretical oxygen demand. Okay, so next is biological properties, which include bacteria and microorganisms. Okay, so let us start with physical characteristics. Uh, the physical characteristics of sewage are determined using physical methods of analysis. Okay, so now talking about color. So the color of the sewage indicates the freshness of sewage. If its color is grayish brown or yellowish, it indicates fresh sewage. With the passage of time, as putrefaction starts, it begins to get black or turn black. Okay. Now, the color of stale and septic sewage is usually black. That is, when all the oxygen has disappeared from the sewage, then it becomes septic. Okay. Now, other colors may be formed due to presence of some specific industrial waste. Okay, and the color of the sewage can normally be detected by the naked eye. Okay, so you can see the pictures, right? So that is the color of the wastewater. Okay, so let's talk about odor. So the odor of a fresh sewage is not offensive at all. Okay, or practically it can be considered odorless, right? But as it starts to get stale, it begins to give offensive odor. Okay, now within 3 to 4 hours of oxygen present in the sewage gas, it gets exhausted and it starts emitting offensive odor by hydrogen sulfide gas, which is formed due to anaerobic decomposition of sewage. Okay, so once again, talking about odor, within 3 to 4 hours all the oxygen which is present in sewage, it gets exhausted and it starts emitting offensive odor by hydrogen sulfide gas, which is formed by anaerobic decomposition of sewage. Next is temperature. So the temperature has an effect on biological activity of bacteria which are present in the sewage, and it also affects the solubility of gases in sewage. It also affects the viscosity of the sewage, that is, more is the temperature, lesser is the viscosity of sewage, right? And the normal temperature of sewage is slightly higher than the temperature of the water supply because of the additional heat that is getting generated due to the utilization of water. Now, also when the wastewater flow in a closed pipe, its temperature further increases. Okay, and the average temperature of the sewage in India is about 20 degrees centigrade, which is near about ideal temperature of sewage for biological activities. At higher temperature, coupled with the lower dissolved organic activities coupled at higher temperature coupled with the lower dissolved oxygen activities can cause serious problem in disposal of wastewater. Okay. Next is specific gravity. So the specific gravity of sewage is always more than 1. So next is turbidity, right? So sewage is normally turbid, representing dirty dishwater or wastewater from bathrooms, having other floating matters like fecal matters, pieces of paper, cigarette ends, matchsticks, greases, vegetables, debris, fruit skins, soaps, etc. Now, the turbidity depends on the quantity of solid matter present in the suspension state. Okay, and it can be determined with the help of turbidity rod or other turbidity meters. Okay, so you can see the pictures of turbid water, right? Let's now move ahead with the chemical characteristics. So, the chemical characteristics of sewage helps in indicating the stage of sewage decomposition, its strength, and the extent and type of treatment required for making it safe. Okay, so let's start with the solids. Okay, so usually sewage contains 99.9% solid and 0.1% of water. Okay, now the different types of solids present in sewage can be classified as suspension solid, dissolved solid, colloidal solid, and even the set level solids. Okay, so suspended solids are those solids which remain floating in sewage. Dissolved solids are those which remain dissolved in sewage just as a salt in water. Colloidal solids are finely divided solid remaining either in solution or in suspension, and settleable solids are those which settle out if the sewage is allowed to remain undisturbed for the period of 2 hours or so. Okay, so let us move ahead. So the proportion of these different types of solid is generally found to be given as below. So if I talk about say 1000 kg of sewage, then it will contain 0.454 kg of total solids. Further classifying these total solids, it contains 0.225 kg in solution, 0.112 kg in suspension, and 0.112 kg in settleable form. Okay. Also, solids can be of two types, that is organic or inorganic, and about 45% of the total solids are organic and the remaining 55% is inorganic. Okay. So inorganic matter consists of minerals and salts like sand, gravel, dissolved salts, chlorides, sulfates, and so on. Okay. Let's move further. So organic matter consists of carbohydrates, that is cellulose, cotton, starch, sugar, etc. Fats and oil received from kitchens and garages. Nitrogenous compounds like protein and the decomposed product including waste from animal, urea, fatty acids, and so on. Okay, so generally presence of inorganic solid in sewage is not harmful, but they can be removed by mechanical units in treatment plants. But the suspended and dissolved organic matter are responsible for creating nuisance if disposed of without any kind of treatment. Okay. So talking about the solids, the amount of various kinds of solid present in the sewage can be determined as 4 different kinds of solids. So the first is known as total solids, that is usually represented as S1 in milligram per liter. Suspended solids, that is S2, right? Then dissolved solids and colloidal solids. So it is represented as S3. Okay. Now, what is meant by total solid S1? Right. So it can be determined by evaporating a known volume of sewage sample and weighing the dry residue which is left, right, after evaporation. Now, the mass of the residue divided by the volume of the sample evaporated will give you total solids in milligram per liter. Okay. So, talking about the suspended solids, they are solids which are retained by a filter of 1 micrometer pores. So, they are called non-filterable solids. Now, their quantity can be determined by passing a known volume of sewage, right? Passing a known volume of sewage through a glass filter and weighing the dry residues left. Okay, so mass of the residue divided by the volume of the sample will give you suspended solid S2. Next, dissolved solid and colloidal solid. So the difference between the total solid which is obtained above, that is S1, and the suspended solid, that is S2, represents the dissolved solid and colloidal solid, that is S3. Okay. Moving further, volatile and fixed suspended solids. Okay. So the total suspended solids S2 may be either volatile or fixed. Now, to determine their proportion, the non-filtered residue is burnt and ignited at around 550 degrees centigrade in a furnace for about 15 to 20 minutes. And loss of weight due to ignition will represent the volatile solids in the sample, and that will be denoted as S4. And further, the difference between S2 and S4 will give you fixed solids. Okay, clear? So further moving, you can see the pictures having water having the solids, right? So as the amount of solids increase, the turbidity increases. Clear? Fine. So let's talk about next characteristics, that is pH. Okay. So now the pH of sewage indicates the logarithm of reciprocal of hydrogen ion concentration present in the sewage. It is thus an indicator of acidity or the alkalinity of sewage. So if the pH is less than 7, then the sewage is acidic, and if pH value is more than 7, then the sewage is alkaline. Okay. Now, the fresh sewage is alkaline in nature, and with the passage of time, pH tends to fall due to production of acids by bacterial action. Okay, this bacterial action is anaerobic, or other processes such as nitrification is also responsible. However, with the treatment of sewage, the pH tends to rise. Now, for determination of pH, it is the most important because efficiency of certain treatment processes depends on pH value, especially the biological treatment. Now, for better results, the pH of sewage should be around 7 in biological treatment, as the microorganism can flourish in that particular pH range. Okay. Clear? pH can be determined by a meter which is known as potentiometer. Okay. So this is a pH scale, right? So less than 7, it will be acidic, and Greater than 7, it will be basic. Okay. So let us move ahead. Next is nitrogen and its compound. So the presence of nitrogen in sewage is an indication of presence of organic matter and may occur in one or more of the following forms. That is free ammonia called ammonia nitrogen, then albuminoid nitrogen or organic nitrogen, then nitrites, and lastly it is the nitrates. Okay. So if I talk about the free ammonia, right? So the free ammonia indicates the very first stage of the decomposition of organic matter, okay, thus indicating recent pollution. If I talk about albuminoid nitrogen, then it indicates the quantity of nitrogen in sewage before the decomposition of organic matter takes place. Okay, and talking about nitrates, it indicates the presence of fully oxidized organic matter in sewage. And lastly, nitrites thus indicates the intermediate stage of conversion of organic matter of sewage into stable form. Okay, thus indicating progress of treatment. Now, their presence, that is presence of nitrites, shows that treatment given to the sewage is incomplete and sewage is stale, whereas the presence of nitrates indicates the well oxidized and treated sewage. Okay, now organic nitrogen can be measured by adding strong alkaline solution of potassium permanganate KMNO4 to already boiled water sample and again boiling the same after mixing. And if ammonia gas is liberated, which is measured, which gives the quantity of organic nitrogen. So now next is nitrites can be dangerous, but as oxidation of nitrites to nitrates is very fast, it is generally not found in water bodies. Now, as nitrate represent fully oxidized matter, its present in sewage is not dangerous. But if the sewage contains higher nitrates and if it is disposed of in a water body, then nitrates contains in the water body would increase and higher quantity of nitrates adversely affect the health of infant, causing a disease called methemoglobinemia, okay, so which is also known as blue baby disease. Okay, so let me show you some pictures, right? So children suffering from this disease may vomit, their skin color may become dark and may die in extreme cases. Okay, nitrites and nitrates are measured by color matching techniques. Clear? So let's talk about chloride contents. So chlorides are generally found in sewage and derived from kitchen waste, human fecal and urinary discharges. The normal chloride content of sewage is 120 mg per liter, whereas the permissible limit of chloride content in water is 250 mg per liter. However, large amount of chlorides may enter from industries like ice cream plants, meat salting, etc. Hence, the chloride content of a given sewage is found to be high and it indicates the presence of industrial waste or infiltration of seawater, thereby indicating the strength of sewage. It can be determined by titrating the wastewater with standard silver nitrate solution using potassium chromate as indicator. Okay, so let's move ahead. So next is fats, oils and greases. So my dear students, fats, oil and greases are derived in the sewage from discharge of animals, vegetable matter or from the garages, kitchens of hotels and restaurants. Okay, now such matter form scum on the top layer of the sedimentation tanks and thus clogs the filter media. Okay, and as a result, it affects the diffusion of oxygen. Thus, they interfere with the normal treatment methods. Okay, hence the detection and removal of these matters is essential. Okay, now oil and greases are soluble in water, right? Hence, for their determination, a sample of sewage is first of all evaporated and leaving behind the oil and grease as residue, which is then weighed. Okay, so you can see some pictures which contains grease, oil and fats, right? So you can see this layer on the top. Okay, so it is known as the scum layer. Fine, let's move ahead. So next is toxic compounds. So copper, lead, silver, chromium, arsenic, phenol, boron, cyanides and so on are some of the toxic compounds which affects the microorganisms, resulting in malfunctioning from industrial waste. Okay, so you can see the pictures. Fine, let's move ahead. So next topic is sulfides, sulfates and H2S gas. Sulfides and sulfates are formed due to the decomposition of various sulfur containing substances in sewage. This decomposition also leads to evolution of hydrogen sulfide gas, causing bad odors, besides causing corrosion of concrete sewer pipe. In aerobic digestion of sewage, the aerobic and facultative bacteria oxidizes the sulfur and its compounds present in the sewage to initially form sulfides, which ultimately breaks down to form sulfate ions, which is a stable and unobjectionable end products. In anaerobic digestion of sewage, the anaerobic and facultative bacteria produce the sulfur and its compounds into sulfides with evolution of H2S gas, along with methane and carbon dioxide, thus causing very obnoxious odor, okay, or very bad odor. Fine. So you can see some pictures. Okay, let's move ahead. Talking about dissolved oxygen. So dissolved oxygen is the amount of oxygen in the dissolved state in the wastewater. Okay, now through the wastewater generally does not have DO, though the wastewater generally does not have DO, its present in untreated wastewater indicates that wastewater is fresh. Similarly, its present in treated wastewater effluent indicates that considerable oxidation has been accomplished during the treatment stages. While discharging the treated wastewater into receiving waters, it is essential to ensure that at least 4 mg per liter of dissolved oxygen is present in it. If DO is less than that, then the aquatic animals like fishes are likely to be killed near the vicinity of the disposal. Okay, and the presence of DO in wastewater is desirable because it prevents the formation of obnoxious odor. DO determination also helps to find out the efficiency of biological treatment. Okay, now the actual quantity of dissolved oxygen is governed by solubility of oxygen, partial pressure of oxygen in the atmosphere, temperature, purity, that is whether the water is saline or it contains suspended solids, right? Then dissolved oxygen of wastewater decreases as the temperature increases, and the solubility of sewage in in the waste and dissolved oxygen content of sewage is determined by Winkler's method. Okay, so next, biochemical oxygen demand. Okay, so this test is of prime importance in regulatory works and in studies designed to evaluate the purification capacity of receiving bodies of water. It is also useful in design of wastewater treatment plant and also the measurement of efficiency of some treatment processes. So, biochemical oxygen demand is defined as the amount of oxygen required by microorganisms to carry out decomposition of biodegradable organic matter under aerobic condition. The biochemical oxygen demand test is widely used to determine the pollution, strength of domestic and industrial waste in terms of oxygen that they will require if discharged into natural watercourses. If it is the one of the most important tests in the stream pollution control activities. Okay. So let us now derive the equation for the first stage of BOD. Okay. So BOD test is conducted to determine the oxygen demand for the first 5 days on a number of samples, and their average value is taken as the BOD 5 at the test temperature. In fact, if the oxygen is made available for a period of more than 5 days, it is found that the oxygen is consumed rapidly for 6 to 7 days and then slowly down until the end of about 20 days or so. Therefore, it may again accelerate for some time and slow down to a very low rate for an indefinite period. And the first demand during the first 20 days or so, in fact, occurs due to oxidation of organic matter. And it is called carbonaceous demand or first stage demand or initial demand. The later demand occurs due to biological oxidation of ammonia, and it is called nitrogenous demand or second stage demand. In fact, the sanitary engineers are more concerned with the first stage demand since the oxygen consumed in its satisfaction is not recoverable. Hence, the term BOD is usually used to mean the first stage BOD, that is the demand due to presence of carbonaceous matter alone. The rate at which BOD is satisfied at any time depends on temperature and also on the amount and nature of organic matter present in the sewage at that time. So, the rate at which BOD is satisfied at any time, that is rate of deoxygenation, depends on temperature and also on the amount of nature of organic matter present in the sewage at that particular time. Fine. So you can see the graph of amount of organic matter present, which is denoted by LT, right? And on the x-axis there is time in days. So you can see at time t equals to 0, amount of organic matter LT is almost equals to L, that is full. Okay. Now with the passage of time, you can see that the graph is reducing. It means with the passage of time, with the increase in time, the amount of organic matter is going on reducing. Okay. Now, at a certain temperature, the rate of deoxygenation is assumed to be directly proportional to the amount of organic matter present in the sewage at that particular time. Okay. So, change in the amount of organic matter with reference to time is directly proportional to the organic matter present at that point of time. So dl by dt is proportional to lt, and if I remove the sign of proportionality, then it comes out to be dlt by dt equals to minus klt. Okay, where lt is the oxygen equivalent of carbonaceous oxidizable organic matter present in sewage after t days from the start of oxidation. T is time in days and K is rate of constant, signifying the rate of oxidation of organic matter, and it depends upon the nature of organic matter and temperature. And its unit is per day. Okay. For moving further, if we integrate the equation, then it will be integration of dl by dlt by lt, right? I am doing, or I am moving dt from denominator to the other side of equivalency or equal sign and bringing lt to the denominator. Okay, so you can see here, right? You can see over here what I have done is, it is dlt by dt, right, equals to minus klt. So what I am doing is, I am bringing this lt to the denominator and taking dt to the numerator in multiplication with capital K, right? So it will be integration of dlt by lt equals to minus k dt. Fine. So after integration, it will be log e, that is natural log into lt, natural log of lt equals to minus kt plus c, right, where c will be constant of integration and can be derived from the boundary condition. So at time t equals to 0, at initial point, LT will be equals to L, because amount of organic matter present is maximum, right? So if I put value of T equals to 0 in this equation, that is 7.13, then what happens is log L, right? In place of LT, it will be L. So log L will be K into 0 plus C, right? So I'll get constant of proportionality C as log of L. Fine. So next, substituting this equation in the previous equations, right? So log of LT equals to minus KT plus C. Instead of C, I am putting log of L, right? Taking log L on the left hand side, so log LT minus log L equals to minus KT. And from the equation of, from the properties of log, this log LT minus log L can be written as log of LT by L, which is equals to minus of KT. Fine. Since this is natural log, I am converting it into log to the base 10. So I will be multiplying it with 2.303, right? So it is 2.303 log to the base 10 LT by L equals to minus of KT. Fine. So in the next step, I am bringing this 2.3 in the denominator. So log to the base 10 LT by L will be equals to minus KT by 2.3, and 1 by 2.3 is equals to 0.434. Okay. So now this my 0.434 K, I am giving it another constant which is known as KD. Fine. So this KD is nothing but the deoxygenation constant, or more strictly the BOD rate constant to the base 10, okay, at the given temperature. Fine. So log LT by L will be equals to minus KD into T, or from the property of log, LT by L will be equals to 10 to the power minus KD into T. Okay. Now, nu L is the organic matter present at the start of BOD reduction, right? And LT is the organic matter left after T days, which means that during T days, the quantity of organic matter oxidized will be L minus LT. Okay. So if YT represents the total amount of organic matter oxidized in T days, right, that is BOD of T days, then we can say that YT will be equals to L minus LT. Okay. So taking L out of the bracket, right, so it will be equals to YT into L into 1 minus LT by L. Okay, so in the second step, dividing with L, it is YT by L equals to 1 minus LT by L. So making subject to the formula LT by L, that will be equals to 1 minus YT by L. Okay, then substituting the value of LT by L in the equation, what we will get is 1 minus YT by L, that will be equals to 10 to the power minus KDT. Okay, and YT by L will be equals to 1 minus 10 to the power minus k dt, or yt will be equals to L into 1 minus 10 to the power minus k dt. Okay, so this is the equation of first stage of BOD. So let us now talk about the deoxygenation constant Kd. So typical values of Kd at 20 degrees centigrade for various types of water and wastewater is shown in this table, right? So tap water Kd value per day should be less than 0.05. Surface water, it should be in between 0.05 to 0.1. For municipal wastewater, it should be 0.1 to 0.15, and treated sewage, it should be 0.05 to 0.1. Clear? Okay, students. So let us now start with the BOD test. Okay. So in BOD test, the sample of the sewage is first diluted with a known volume of specially prepared dilution water. Okay, and dilution water contains salts and nutrients necessary for biological activity, and phosphate buffer solution to maintain pH of around 7 to 7.5. Diluted water is also fully aerated. Okay, now the initial DO of the diluted sample is measured, and the diluted sample is then incubated for 5 days at 20 degrees centigrade. The dissolved oxygen of the diluted sample after incubation period is found out, and the difference between the initial dissolved oxygen value and the final dissolved oxygen value will indicate the oxygen consumed by the sewage sample in the anaerobic decomposition, in aerobic decomposition in 5 days. Okay, and the BOD in milligram per liter or ppm is then calculated using this particular formula, that is BOD equals to DO consumed in the test by diluted sample into volume of the diluted sample divided by volume of undiluted sewage sample. Next, the factor on the right hand side is the dilution factor. For example, so let us now talk about these are the instruments which are usually used for BOD test. So let's talk about BOD test limitations. Okay, so the first one is it measures only biodegradable organic matter. Time duration of the test is very long, that is 5 days, so quick results are needed. It is not useful. Pre-treatment is needed if the sample contains toxic waste, and nitrifying bacteria can cause interferences and could give higher results. So to avoid them, proper care must be taken. It is essential to have high concentration of active bacteria present in the sample. Okay, so now talking about chemical oxygen demand. The BOD test takes minimum 5 days time, and due to this it is not very useful in controlling of treatment process. An alternative test is known as COD test. It is widely used as a means of measuring the amount of organic matter in the waste. It can be used to measure both biodegradable and non-biodegradable organic matter. COD test takes 3 hours in comparison to 5 days of BOD test. In COD test, a strong chemical oxidizing agent like potassium dichromate is used in acidic medium to oxidize the organic matter present in the waste. Almost all type of organic matter, with a few exceptions, can be oxidized by the action of strong oxidizing agent under acidic condition. So COD can be defined as amount of oxygen required to chemically oxidize organic matter using a strong oxidizing agent like potassium dichromate under acidic condition. Okay. Talking about total organic carbon. So total organic carbon test consists of acidification of the wastewater sample to convert inorganic carbon to carbon dioxide. Okay, now the sample is then injected into high temperature furnace where it is oxidized in presence of catalyst. The carbon dioxide that is produced is measured by means of infrared analyzer and converted instrumentally to organic carbon content. Now, the test is accurate and correlates to BOD well. Certain types of organic matter are oxidizing in TOC test, so its value is less than BOD test. For a typical domestic wastewater, BOD5 to TOC ratio usually varies from 1 to 1.6, and TOC, that is total organic carbon, is not widely used because the cost of the instrument, which you can see in the picture, is very high, okay, and the skill necessary in its operation is also very high. It means in order to operate this instrument, you need highly skilled operators. So let's move ahead. So next is theoretical oxygen demand. The oxygen required to oxidize the organic matter present in a given wastewater can be theoretically computed if the organic matter present in the wastewater are known. Thus, if the chemical formula and the concentration of chemical compounds present are known to us, we can easily calculate the theoretical oxygen demand of each of these compounds by writing the balance reaction for the compound with the oxygen to produce carbon dioxide and water and oxidized in organic compounds. But in actual practice, it is virtually impossible to know the details of the compound present in any natural raw water or wastewater. Okay. Talking about biological characteristics, the sewage contains many microorganisms like bacteria, algae, fungi, protozoa, etc. Bacteria being the most predominant, okay, but most of the bacteria found in the sewage are harmless, non-pathogenic bacteria, okay, and they are helpful in oxidation and decomposition of sewage. A little number of bacteria, however, are disease producing pathogens which are the real danger to the health of the human beings, and in case of sewage samples, the routine bacteriological tests as performed for water samples are generally not performed because of the high concentration of the bacteria present in it. But at the time of the outbreak of epidemic, certain tests may be done to find the type of the pathogens. Okay, so this was all about the characteristics or the properties of the wastewater. We will discuss some more topics in the next video.